Tonight, the new wave of foreclosures in America. People losing their homes after losing their jobs. I'm Katie Couric. Also tonight, the Taliban threatened to execute an American soldier, while the U.S. tries a new strategy to win his release, delivering an ultimatum to his captors. And sign of the times, future Warren Buffetts learn how to manage their money at summer camp.
This is the CBS Evening News with Katie Couric.
Good evening, everyone. We begin tonight with a shattered dream, the dream of owning a home, because more and more Americans are being forced to give it up. Their homes are being foreclosed, and it's not just a sharp increase in a mortgage rate that's forcing them out. Now it's soaring unemployment. They're out of work and can't pay their bills. A report out today says the number of families on the verge of losing their homes jumped nearly 15% in the first half of the year, and actual foreclosures rose 11% this spring to an all-time high. Here's Ben Tracy.
About the house. You're going to build a house?
A house is all Amanda Augie wanted for her daughter Jasmine, but now she's lost her job and her Southern California home has lost half its value, dropping from $395,000 to $180,000. Foreclosure seems like a foregone conclusion.
It's very depressing. I want help. We are trying the best we can. I'm doing everything I can to get help.
Amanda's original mortgage payment was nearly $3,000. This month, she paid $600.
I'm making the payments because that's what we can afford, and I want to show good faith that we want to pay down our loan.
She is not alone. The current wave of foreclosures is hitting once stable homeowners who can no longer pay their mortgage because they aren't getting a paycheck.
People losing their jobs and unable to make mortgage payments on what had been considered very safe, standard 30-year fixed prime rate loans.
In fact, in the first half of this year, 1 in every 16 homes in Nevada received a foreclosure notice, a 61% jump from last year. In Arizona, 1 in every 30 homes. In Florida, 1 in every 33. And in California, 1 in every 34. So some banks are holding loan modification fairs, lowering interest rates and principal to make mortgages more affordable.
We're definitely seeing better quality and more loan modifications. That's the good news. You know, the bad news is it's not really keeping pace with foreclosures.
President Obama's highly touted program, launched in February, has helped 325,000 borrowers, but more than 3 million households are expected to be in foreclosure this year. The loan modification process is often a mess. Banks say they're overwhelmed and paperwork is often lost.
Fell down.
Amanda Augie has been waiting 8 months for an answer on her modification. With a baby on the way, she's worried.
If they foreclose on us and I'm 9 months pregnant, what do I do?
Now, unfortunately, many experts say that the way that the foreclosure crisis will ultimately be resolved is when many of these homeowners who are facing foreclosure actually lose their homes. A tough reality check. Katie?
Ben Tracy reporting tonight from Los Angeles. Thanks, Ben. Also in financial trouble tonight is a leading business lender. It's a century-old CIT Group. It has more than $5 billion of outstanding loans to more than 1 million borrowers. Now, Nancy Cordes tells us the government appears ready to allow it to become the 4th largest bankruptcy in U.S. history.
CIT may not be a household name, but its borrowers are. Dunkin' Donuts, Filing's Basement, Dairy Queen. CIT is also the nation's largest lender to small businesses, and it's teetering on the brink of bankruptcy.
CIT made a lot of very aggressive loans to businesses that are on the financial edge. Many of them can't pay CIT back, and therefore CIT is in its own financial trouble.
Discussions with government agencies have ceased, the $60 billion company announced this morning. CIT had hoped for a second government rescue after getting $2.3 billion in bailout funds last fall.
Is there any chance, if CIT goes under, that taxpayers will get all that money back?
Well, I have high hopes and low expectations. I mean, that's one of the reasons you have bankruptcy courts, to sort out claims of creditors, including those of the American taxpayer.
But what about the borrowers? CIT says it provides 60% of all the loans to the retail industry. At the Apparel Mart in Atlanta today, vendors were in a panic.
They're very important to us. They own half of our business, I would say.
And with credit still tough to come by, retailers are bracing for a chain reaction, more layoffs and store closures, just when the administration is trying to promote optimism.
What you're seeing in the U.S. Is a very encouraging improvement in confidence in the overall stability of the financial system.
Government sources say they did not believe that CIT could ever turn a profit, and they didn't want to get stuck holding the bag. The company could file for bankruptcy as soon as tomorrow, Katie.
And Nancy, do you think the Obama administration is sending out an implicit message that the era of government bailouts is over?
Well, they're definitely trying to send a message that they're much more interested at this point at getting TARP money back than putting it out there. Keep in mind that while CIT is big, it's not on the government's list of banks that are too big to fail. And so officials felt that this collapse, while painful, won't be catastrophic.
All right, Nancy Cordes on Capitol Hill tonight. Thank you. Another financial institution that received a taxpayer bailout is making a comeback. J.P. Morgan Chase reported today it earned nearly $3 billion in the second quarter of this year, 27% more than the first quarter. On Capitol Hill today, the Senate Judiciary Committee wrapped up 4 days of hearings on Sonia Sotomayor's nomination to the Supreme Court, and at least one Republican signaled he may vote yes.
We'll see what your future holds, but I think it's going to be pretty bright.
Also today, the committee heard from Frank Ritchie, a Connecticut firefighter who recently won his reverse discrimination case when the Supreme Court overturned a ruling by Judge Sotomayor.
The lower court's belief that citizens should be reduced to racial statistics is flawed. It only divides people who don't wish to be divided along racial lines.
Ritchie sued when the city of New Haven threw out a promotion exam when no African Americans passed. Judge Sotomayor testified she was bound by earlier rulings when she voted to uphold the dismissal of that lawsuit. Now turning to the war in Afghanistan, the Taliban threatened today to execute an American soldier they captured more than 2 weeks ago unless the U.S. military stops looking for him. But Mandy Clark tells us the United States is making a counter threat.
In the hunt for a soldier captured June 30th, American forces are trying something new in Afghanistan, directly threatening the Taliban militants who are holding him. CBS News has recovered leaflets handed to locals containing this blunt warning. If you do not free the American soldier, then you will be hunted. The U.S. military has been heavily criticized by the Afghan government for civilian deaths, 900 this year alone. Officials say the new message is not meant to scare the local population.
That is targeted at the enemy forces who are holding our missing soldier. If you're not in that category, it's not directed at you.
The military says another leaflet meant for locals has been airdropped. This one a simple plea for information on the missing soldier. The soldier, whose identity is being withheld by the military, was taken just as a major new U.S. offensive against the Taliban got underway. He's a bargaining chip the Taliban hope to exploit. They've reacted to the leaflets by threatening to kill him.
Is there not a danger you could be aggravating the kidnappers?
Anytime we try to communicate with either the enemy or with the local Afghan people, we have to be very careful and we have to really think about what we're saying and how we're saying it.
The two leaflets, one threatening, one friendly, could be seen as a good cop, bad cop routine. But the U.S. military isn't apologizing for their tactics. All they want is their soldier back. Mandy Clark, CBS News, Kabul.
And coming up next on the CBS Evening News, hallowed ground. Now a massive crime scene, the latest outrage at an historic cemetery. Just when you thought this story could not get any worse, it did. Workers at a cemetery outside Chicago accused of digging up bodies and reselling the graves. Now Cynthia Bowers tells us some of those targeted graves held the remains of infants.
Burr Oak Cemetery remains a 150-acre crime scene.
I don't know what's going on.
Angry relatives are locked down while forensic investigators sift for evidence.
People will not ever get the conclusion they want.
55,000 requests for information have been filed on more than 100,000 grave sites. But with cemetery records rotting and aging filing cabinets, even the FBI says it may be impossible to identify the remains. Particularly heartbreaking, the desecration of an area called Babyland, where thousands buried their young.
She's over here.
Linda Foster's infant cousin was buried in Babyland, just one of 10 relatives at Burr Oak.
It's sad. It's totally disgusting.
The president of the company that owns the cemetery, who says he has relatives buried at Burr Oak, noticed financial irregularities earlier this year, but claims he knew nothing about the dumping of bodies.
I have no idea. I don't know why they did what they did.
The horror story that unfolded here has focused attention on laws governing cemeteries nationwide.
Regulations requiring cemetery inspections vary from state to state, and many believe there needs to be more oversight to make sure something like this doesn't happen someplace else.
This is something that I think finally has a human face to it. We have to step back and assess the entire death care industry.
Linda Foster agrees and thinks the owner's president should be held accountable.
As far as I'm concerned, he should be jailed and put in not protective custody, put him out with the general public and let it take care of itself.
Foster believes Burr Oak should be made into a memorial garden, kept sacred once and for all. Cynthia Bowers, CBS News, Alsip, Illinois.
Up in space, the crew of Endeavour spent the day examining the shuttle for possible damage. During the launch yesterday, the spacecraft was hit by 2 or 3 pieces of foam insulation that came off the external fuel tank. Today, the crew used a camera mounted on the shuttle's robot arm to get a closer look. NASA believes the damage is minor. This, by the way, is a major anniversary for the space program in this country. 40 years ago today, the astronauts of Apollo 11 lifted off. Destination, the moon. They were launched into space by the Saturn V, the most powerful rocket ever built.
Houston, you're a go for landing, over.
4 days later, Neil Armstrong became the first human to set foot on the moon.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
500 million people were watching on TV, but the grainy images made it hard to follow Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin. Now, 40 years later, a film restoration company hired by NASA has digitally enhanced the video. The images are much sharper. Reflections can even be seen in Armstrong's visor. NASA had erased most of its original tapes from Apollo 11, so copies were used, along with videotape provided by CBS News, to produce a high-quality record of this remarkable piece of history.
Started up behind.
If there's one thing Americans have learned from this current economic monsoon, it's to save for a rainy day. Last summer, we were saving on average less than 1% of our incomes. But by spring, as the recession worsened, the savings rate had risen to nearly 7%, a 15-year high. The value of saving is a lesson kids are learning, too. In partnership with USA Today, Kelly Wallace continues our series, Children of the Recession.
Everybody take their check.
8-year-old triplets Jacob, Benjamin, and Julia do just about everything together. And so today, together...
You guys ready to open your account?
Yes.
All right.
They opened up savings accounts.
What does saving money allow you to do?
Because if your mom and dad run out of money, then you'll have to pay for your school.
This bank is part of an unusual summer camp in Denver. Instead of soccer and swimming,
It's called the Saving Games.
these second and third graders learn about money.
So when you grow up, you know how to save, so you won't run out of money and be like a hobo.
For many of these kids, the camp is not pretend play.
By a show of hands, anybody here know someone who lost a job? Wow. Have you seen your mom struggle a little bit with money this year?
Yeah, she always uses like coupons.
Their mother is Nancy Fine, a realtor whose business was down 50% last year. She wants her children to learn how to be financially independent.
If you learn young, they'll have a lifetime knowledge of, how to plan for the future, and they'll probably be better off.
These 8- and 9-year-olds are learning more than kids twice their age. Only 3 states require high school students take a financial education course. 18 others require personal finance be taught during other subjects. In the rest of the country, nothing is mandated.
We're struggling as a country, and it's a byproduct of people's lack of education when it comes to financial literacy. So this is critical for our students. Let's get where we belong.
High school Vice Principal Jermaine Kamau brought an innovative video game called Everfi to his school in Trenton, New Jersey. Students earn and spend in a virtual world, coping with the unexpected like a broken cell phone while saving for college. The object is not to go broke.
Teach me how to manage my money instead of spending everything.
The program taught Shanetta Francis to hold off on getting a credit card.
When you see a credit card solicitation, what do?
Throw it in the trash. I get rid of it right away.
A good idea when you consider that 62% of college seniors have 4 or more credit cards, and only 59% of 18 to 29-year-olds pay their bills on time every month. It's not easy changing attitudes of a generation bombarded by ads since birth. But they're getting a different message now.
We know what the economy is going to be like now, and so we'll do better. A long time ago, you guys just didn't know what it was like to have a bad economy.
The bad economy is a good life lesson. These kids believe playing with money now will make them smarter with money when they're grown up. Kelly Wallace, CBS News, Denver.
The recession is also providing a tough economic lesson to a company behind a footwear fad. Crocs has given 2,000 employees, a third of its workforce, their walking papers.
They are really cool.
Swear by them or swear at them, it's impossible to be neutral about Crocs.
They're plastic and they hurt your feet.
Even celebrities have trouble making these shoes cool, hip, or good-looking. No matter how cool, hip, or good-looking the celebrities are.
They have no style at all.
But even a presidential seal won't get you a pardon for wearing socks with Crocs.
I just think they look like Fred Flintstone shoes.
As the economy boomed, so did Crocs. 100 million pairs were sold in the past 7 years. Now a stunning reversal from a $168 million profit in 2007 to a $185 million loss in 2008, leaving the company with serious debt. So will they go the way of the Earth shoe, the mood ring, and the pet rock? Or will Croc-craving fans come to their rescue?
They're comfortable and they're light shoes.
And that is the CBS Evening News for tonight. I'm Katie Couric. Thank you for watching. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.